So you're video chatting with some strangers. It's getting a little awkward. There's an assignment that's due. No one kind of really knows what's going on. Does that sound familiar? Today, I want to talk about team building, relationships, and trust in the virtual group. Um, when our virtual group got started, I felt a little bit awkward. Didn't really know, the other people. And then over time, we actually felt comfortable. We felt like we were able to effectively express our ideas, and we're able to help each other out. I want to go ahead and introduce a few team building activities and the criteria that we really looked at when we were discussing our rubric as far as team building. As you can see here, these are the 5 ones that really stood out. Some have a higher score than the others. The 2 I really want to touch base on here is organization and efficiency. And as you can see, they have a little bit more of a value than the other ones. Organization here is we want to talk about in the virtual group to be organized. When having a discussion, I looked at a study on the importance of taking turns while we're talking here. So, turn taken in human interactions has been studied extensively, like I said. So through team building and organization, an effective team can, know when it's their turn to talk. They want to address what is being said, and then they're able to transition into what they want to say. So it's important in organization to make sure we're addressing what was said before we talk, so that the person in the group can have some type of feedback or nonverbal sense that what they said was acknowledged and that it matters. Now, the other one that I looked into was effectiveness. So when we look at effectiveness, we want to look at what's really important is understanding our roles, which a lot of us did through our virtual groups. We were assigned a role, or we assigned each other roles. And that's important to understand your role and your responsibility within the group. According to Skeen, peer groups consist of members who are essentially similar in skills, abilities, and our social status and power. That kind of defines us as a peer. Obviously not all groups we're in or virtual interactions are we equal in that sense. One barrier that Skeen talked about when looking at effectiveness was culture. So what's called an espoused belief is the beliefs that all the groups share, like in the assignment, like getting a good grade or trying to accomplish this task. And then you have your underlying beliefs, which, is people's personal areas, and that may conflict with someone else in the group. And that's where you try to turn the conversation to the overall espoused beliefs, keep the team on track to accomplish the goals. Okay? Effective overall team building right there. Okay, now the applications that we used were Skype, we used text, we used email, and we used the internet. One thing that we thought was important was to try to keep it simple. As you can see here, we have our missing attribution limitations. We thought that was important when looking through and trying to discover effective applications. We had user friendliness and device availability. One thing I thought was really important after reviewing this rubric was how important the actual user friendliness is, because everyone in the group may have different abilities in technology. They may be comfortable with one thing and they may not be comfortable with something else. So one thing that you really have to look for within the group is something that's really user friendly to everyone. And I think that's why we chose Skype over some of the other competitors, was because it was more user friendly than, say, WebEx or FaceTime. Now, that's not to say we didn't have our problems with Skype, because we had some audio problems on one of our meetings, and we were able to overcome that. So, my recommendations with the application is, like I said, make sure everyone is comfortable, make sure they're user friendly, make sure everyone knows how to use them. And then you want to make sure that you're being efficient as far as what you're doing, and if there is a technological error, that you do have a backup in place, because that is important. As far as, like I said, as my recommendation on team building is, you want to make sure you have an icebreaker. You want to have a plan for team building. You want to search out activities. You can find these all over the internet, and try these. This is something we are able to do. We are able to look at certain activities that we thought we could do in a virtual setting, and they actually ended up going really well for us. Some other recommendations I would say would be to make sure we're flexible in a virtual setting like this. Is everyone's got to try to find the time to be able to sit down and have the meeting or work on the agenda. So that's always important, to take people's time into consideration. And like I said before, you always want to make sure you have a backup plan. So we want to make sure you are taking turns talking. We want to make sure that you are using a technology that's user friendly for everybody, and that's for efficiency. And we want to make sure that we define our roles in the group, so we can be more effective as well. So the next time that you lead a virtual group or are a part of a virtual group, make sure to keep these things in mind.